Hello, in this video I'd like to go through the process of setting up ProCon-Web embedded system, also known as ES for short, with a Weidmuller controller shown at the top left of your screen. It could equally be done with a Weidmuller IoT Gateway at the bottom right of your screen. This video is using a controller with uOS firmware installed, which basically means the device is a Codesys native PLC software. The assumption of the video is that you already have familiarity with using Codesys, and you also have some familiarity with ProCon-Web, as in you have already got a project to work with. Just to explain what we actually mean by ProCon-Web ES, or embedded system, it literally means the ProCon-Web visualization or HMI application lives on board the Weidmuller hardware, whether it be a controller or an IoT gateway. Unlike the conventional HMIs where you have a proprietary piece of hardware and proprietary software, the HMI visualization is just broadcast via a browser, so there is a browser or web server integrated into the controller and the gateway. So embedded system literally means the HMI project lives in the controller. So at the time of making this video, these are the 6 devices that Weidmuller offer that can have uOS firmware installed. So the first 2 are WL controllers. The second 2 items, the M3000 and M4000, are very new models, higher spec PLCs, and the bottom 2 items are IoT gateways. The bottom one having 4G connectivity via a SIM card, mobile network. The others have dual Ethernet ports, normally use one for WAN and the other port for LAN. In my video, the firmware installed will be uOS version 2.1. Related software would be Codesys version 3.5 SP19 or later. I'm using SP19. This can either be downloaded from the Weidmuller support website or Codesys directly. It is Codesys' own software, not Weidmuller's. We also have to have Codesys runtime installed on the Weidmuller hardware, and we need to make use of ProCon-Web development software, the actual HMI configuration software, and the current version today is 6.74. So that's a quick overview of the hardware and what software is required. Now we can move on to the controller. I've now pointed my browser to the IP address of my uOS controller. First thing to do is log in. If you remember when you set up your Codesys controller, you were asked to generate a username and a password to log into the controller to download your project or to monitor your project. The same passwords required, so it will be unique to you. Hopefully you've already watched some of my other videos regarding Weidmuller Easy Connect service, cloud service, and as you can see on my screen now, these are what we call apps used within the controller. Best place to go into detail to look at those is to click into the uOS control center and then go to apps, because we need to install a ProCon-Web embedded system app. Now, as you can see at the moment, I have 5 apps installed. I have mentioned in previous videos the WL2000 controller, the controller I'm using, is limited in capacity to install lots of apps, so I recommend that I should probably have no more than 4 or 5 apps. So I'm going to delete uLink Remote Access app before I install ProCon-Web, so it's useful for you to see how you do that. So literally I just click on here, it opens up the app, and I can either check for updates, open it, or uninstall. So I'm going to uninstall it. Uninstall. Now this may take a few minutes, so I'll probably fast forward the video at this point. Okay, so it's uninstalled that app. It's took about a minute to a minute and a half to do. So I've now got a little bit more capacity or space on the controller. So I'll now install the ProCon-Web app. So we go to install app. Okay, so it's took about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So you can see a list of apps here. I'm not really going to go through details explaining what they all are. All I'm interested in is this one, ProCon-Web Embedded Systems. So the first thing it does is check what versions are available. It will always offer you the latest. Sometimes there's only one, but so ProCon-Web's had a few versions. You have different versions to match the versions of ProCon-Web software you're using. So just to open ProCon-Web, I'm using 6.7, yeah, as the base. So I do want that one. Next, install. And again, this may take 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so it's loading the apps, updating. Okay, so the app is now there and running, so we can click into the app, open again. The default login to the website is shown here, Procon, login. Okay, so by default you have this current project, which has 0 tags, 0 drivers. I can go to the HMI, but there's nothing there at the moment because I haven't downloaded a project, so we can shut that tab down. Projects here. So you may have more than one project. You can have multiple projects installed on the controller and then switch between them if you wish. You can actually import a project. You can go here and import a .prop file there. Drag it into that box. Or when you download them, they will appear here, and as I say, the loaded one is the one that's current, and you may have multiple others. Obviously they're taking up memory, so I wouldn't recommend having lots of projects. You can also export the project, so once the project's on here you can then export it, and it exports as a PWPROJ project, so you can export it from here and then import it back using that feature. And you can load, so if you have multiple projects you can load and unload or delete. Okay, fairly straightforward. Then you've got a services area. So at the moment it says we've got no services running. So it's a little bit misleading. It says protocol, it's actually a log of what's happening. So I'm getting a warning here. I don't actually have a license on my hardware, so that's why I'm getting this warning. So just to explain that a bit, when you purchase a controller, a uOS controller, there's at least one license you need. You need one license to use Codesys. That's a feature of Codesys, not really a feature of Weidmuller. You need a Codesys runtime license on the hardware, and if you're using ProCon-Web Embedded Systems, Weidmuller's own HMI software, you can have up to 250 tags free of charge, no license required. But if you want more tags than that, then you would have to purchase a license. So if I go to licenses here, so I've got ProCon-Web Embedded Systems, and I'm in demo mode, and I've got 53 minutes remaining apparently, so I click in there. In my particular case I've got 100 tags, 1 driver and 2 clients, so on an official release I believe it's 250 tags. So just to explain what we mean, tag can be a boolean or a integer or a float or a string. Every variable you create in your project and you want to bring in HMI is counted as a tag. So if you have an array of 100 integers, that's your allowance gone. So be aware that arrays don't count once they count as the number of elements in the array or structure. I can have 1 driver, so 1 driver means protocol, so I could be using, let's say, Codesys or OPC UA to talk between a PLC and the HMI. And then the number of clients is the number of browsers basically that are connected to the controller. If I go to clients here, just to confirm, I've got 2 clients available, 0 are in use, and there would be details of the connected client if there was one. So if we go back to home, okay, and into projects. That's it at this point on the controller. What we need to do now is go into ProCon-Web HMI software and actually download a project. So let me just switch over. Okay, so I've got a project called uOS demo. If I switch to Codesys now, there's my project, and if I go into PLC prog, I have a section of code, a POU with a very simple program in it, and I have some local variables including a structure called a pump. Okay, and then I also have some global variables in this folder. Ignore the fact that it's called GVL OPCUA. It is just a folder containing registers, so these are global variables. So once I've got all my variables, I then have to decide what I want to make accessible to the HMI. So I then go into symbol configuration, and in here I pick what tags I want. So I normally expand those, and I tick which ones I want to transfer across, and then I have to build the project, and hopefully it builds with no errors. Okay, and then you go online and log into the controller, and this again is where you put the same username and password as you would have originally defined on your first download to the controller. So I'm connected, applications running, login with online change. Okay, okay, so it's just building the project and transferring it across. Let's just check. Looks like it's gone in okay. 0 errors, 0 warnings. That's all good. Okay. The controller is in run, so that's all fine. So I now switch back to ProCon-Web, and I go into process connection, process variable tags, and you have to go into driver selection or protocol selection. So I want Codesys. So I tick Codesys. I click in here, number of connections, and I create a connection. So I've already got one, but basically you'd go new connection, and you would pick ARTI3, and then you define the IP address of the controller, and then you put in the username and the password as you had done previously in Codesys to download the project. And I've left everything else the same, and OK that. And that's it. And just to say, Merker is German. That's basically the internal tags. HMI does have internal tags available, so that's always there. But you just want Codesys. You could also use OPCUA v2, but I find Codesys simpler, so I just OK that. Then I go to PLC import, and I pick Codesys, and I'm just going to delete them just to make it a bit simpler. So I go to Codesys as my driver. It's the only one there because it's the only one I've picked. Go add, and I'm online to the controller, so I can pick online, and I type in the IP address, and I type in username and password, making sure it's correct case, and connect. So it's connecting, and there's the controller, and then these are my symbol file tags. I just click in here and pick which tags I want. So let's pick them all, for example, pick that, or I can untick it and just pick the individual tags. Fairly straightforward. So pick that, pick structure, pick all of that, apply, read symbols. and there they all are. So if you want to bring them all in, you can either do them one at a time, import now, or you can do a trick and highlight all of them and then right click and say import now, and that brings everything in at once. I've actually got an error here because I've already got these tags already in the projects, but you'd just see them as coming cleanly. So I'm going to don't import now. But as you're doing a project from scratch, you'll get they should all come in cleanly. So there's some variables. Okay, and once you've got those, you can then download the project. So go to project environment, create, it picks up the name. If you have issues when you're doing downloads, it's not a bad idea to do clean export directory beforehand, so that just wipes the folder clean. So I'll do that. Okay, it's creating the project. You get in the progress bar here, and then go target system, and let's try and put in the IP address, scan the network. Okay, connect, download a project. This is also where you'd have to download a license, but we're downloading the project. Okay, so once that's project complete, we can close that window. Now we can go back to the browser page, log back into Procon because it's timed out. We've got one driver now. That's the name of the project. That's the version it was written with. I've got 45 tags and one driver, which was Codesys, the native protocol. So if I go to projects here, there you go. So I've got uOS demo 2 now loaded, and the default one is unloaded. So I could go to here if I wanted and say unload and replace with that, or I could, as I say, export it and then at a later date re-import it here. If I go to services, now we notice we got all the services running, 9 services running, telemetry, etc. And so obviously if they're all running, we're happy, nothing's no problem. Go to protocol, you can look at a log, and everything looks fine. If you look at the time and date stamp, it's actually counting down the page. And you can go here and you can export the log, or you can download log files, or you can configure it. I normally just leave that alone. Then you can go to license you've already seen really. So if you see the countdown, I've only got 40 minutes remaining now. My license, my demo license, allows me 100 tags and one driver. Well, I've only got 45 tags, so that's fine. Go to clients, and at the moment I've got no clients connected, so let me see what happens when I go to HMI. That will open another tab in my browser. There's a project there. When you notice it's streaming the project into the browser, it's the IP address of the controller, port number 65300, so it's using TCP port 65300. And I can switch between the pages, and I can see some data changing here. Basically, my ProCon-Web project, I've got some script running, which is just creating random values just to show something on the dash in the trend. But not too worried about the project here. I'm just more interested in showing the fact that it's actually downloaded the project into the controller and it's all happy and running. So if I now go back to the ProCon-Web tab, it says I have one client connected and I have a maximum of 2. I'm online, and that's the MAC address of the client, or my PC. And I can force a disconnection if I want. So I think that's it really. That's demonstrated create a ProCon-Web project and download it into the controller. So hopefully that's explained the process of setting that all up. Thanks for watching.